G'day crew and welcome. In this episode I'm going to have a go at making a lure for Wahoo and Spanish mackerel. I bought the parts. I did have an attempt to do it with the wrong skirt, but it was the best I could get in Australia. In the second part of the video I come back and I redo that with some stuff that I got from America, which is much better. I'll put some links in the video description below where you can get these parts if you want to have a go at making one. I've never done this before, but I did the usual thing and looked at all the YouTube videos on how to do it and put together what I thought was the best ideas from all of them, and this is it. I hope you get something out of it. G'day crew. Got this trolling head, came out from the States. Nice stainless steel one. Got the water intakes around the edge here, 4 of them. Middle one of course has got a line to go through. And 4 exits in the back of it. I think you can see them there in the video. And that creates a nice bubble trail as it goes through the water. Then I bought some of this nylon hair to put on it to give it a little bit of bling. And I'm about to put that on. I've never done this before. I think the hair is probably not the best thing to do, but I couldn't find any mylar to use. So I'm going to try the hair and see how it goes. And I'm going to take you through the rigging of it. As I said, never done it before. May or may not work, but we'll see how it goes. And after I've rigged it, I'll take it out and try it. I've got 200 pound strength wire here. It's 1.2mm to 1.5mm diameter, and it is plastic coated. I've got these crimps here for that size line. They're aluminium. Normally you wouldn't use aluminium crimps on a stainless steel multi-strand wire leader, but because it's plastic coated I think I'll get away with it okay. You just don't want to mix the dissimilar metals, and the plastic coating will keep them separated. So it should be okay. And I picked up some of these BKK red octopus beak hooks, size 8/0 to go with it. I just picked them up from the nearest tackle shop because I didn't have anything suitable, and I wanted to get this done over Christmas. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to try something just a little bit different with this and see if it works. Not the way I would normally do it, but it might work. It's one of those things you just never know till you try it. The worst that can happen is I'll waste a bit of wire and have to do it again. Make sure you put your crimp on first before you hook. So instead of cutting straight across here, we go diagonally across on an angle. And I don't know if you can see that on the thing, but we've got a nice little wedge shape there, bevel on the end. So that when we come around here and put it in, that gives us a start going in there. Oops, oh, watch out for that sharp end of the hook. Oops, there, I've gone too far. So I'm going to pull that back. I only want about, oh, damn, it's a bit stiff, too far, not enough. Okay, you can just see that, it's only just barely sticking out there now. I'm just going to try and move that another millimetre. Okay, just so it's inside there so I won't catch my hand on it and rip a big hole in my hand on that wire leader. And now pull the main line back. Make this a reasonably small loop. That's about as small as we're going to get, I think. Yep, that's about it. But that'll do. And then take your crimping pliers and make sure you get the right setting on it for the size of this. And don't crimp right on the end. These are long crimps I've got, so I'm going to put 3 crimps on it. One on that end, one on that end, one in the middle, and I left a good piece of meat on the end so I'm not crimping down and pinching the line itself. Okay, I don't think that's going to go anywhere now. That's got him. Now the idea with this is, I'm going to see if I can crimp onto just the line itself to hold this hook. I just want to get the right separation on them, and I'm thinking about that much separation on them. I need another piece of just to go in there. I want probably, about that much trace on it. I'll cut this off. There's my trace. Doesn't have to be exact. A couple of feet I think should do it. Because it's going to have heavy mono on it as well. Now this is just my stuffer here, just to put in there so I've got something to crimp down against. Otherwise that crimp's not going to hold if I've just got a single piece of wire in there. And just check my positioning again. Yep, that should be good there. I want these hooks to lie in line if I can, so I just want to make sure that's positioned to give it the best chance of doing that. And again, up near one end of it and up near the other end, keeping away from the end again. I'll put one in the middle. Oh, I've got room for another one in there. Better too many than not enough. Right, yeah. Now, the idea is that that hook can sit down there, like that. And that should work well once we get the heat shrink on it and shrink it into place. So now I can take that hook off for a moment and I get a little bit of heat shrink to do this job. I should have had that ready, but I didn't. Got that much. Now this heat shrink's got glue in it, a hot glue, so when you heat it and shrink it, it'll glue itself on here. And I want that to go just down over that hook a little bit so that it holds it fairly firm in place. I want this one on next. I'm going to shrink this first one on first, and then we'll get another bit of heat shrink and put over this to hold this in place in line with that one. So that'll be the next job, to shrink that down. Get that in place first, so about where it is there will be good. Okay, I've got a proper hot air gun here. If you haven't got one of these, you can do it with a hairdryer. This just makes the job a bit quicker. Okay, as you can see, that's shrunk down really well onto the hook and the wire, and once that's set, that'll stiffen that up a lot. Back down here now and position them so that they're more or less in line, because I think if they're out of line too much, the lure might twist, and that's not going to do anything to attract the fish. Pretty good. And then I cut a small piece of heat shrink to slip down over there, just to make sure that hook holds in place where it is. So we're going to shrink that on now. It's going to get a bit warm on my fingers until it shrinks down a bit. Try and direct some of the heat away from it. Okay, and just make sure your hook's sitting right, much as you can just before it all sets. Okay, so far so good. But now, if we put this up through the middle here, the hooks are all hidden inside that, so we need a bit of a spacer. So you put the hooks down around about there, I reckon. So what do we need? We need some of these beads. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, probably half a dozen by the looks of it. See how that goes. Let's take that out there now. Drop these beads on it. I could probably use another couple of beads on that, I think. It's not quite as far down as I'd like. Yeah, okay, that's good. I can trim a little bit off these if I want to, just to make sure that back hook gets exposed. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of heat shrink over this. That'll be up there. Okay, so it's all the way over the beads and a little bit more over the hook itself. So I'll take that up and heat shrink that. Okay, that's all good. Just let that cool for a minute. I can feed that up through there. Alright, well that's pretty good there. I think that's enough length on the wire leader. So, I want another one of these to crimp on a loop on the top of it. Okay, it's come through now. I'm going to just ease it back again so that I don't cut myself on that. And you don't need a huge loop on there, but it wants to be big enough to get a case lock swivel through. So I'm going to leave it like that. You don't want it any bigger than you need, but you don't want to make it that small that it's hard to get the swivel through either. And I think that's pretty good there. So same deal, make sure you're in the right slot. Crimp up near one end. Crimp up near the other end. And then whatever you can fit in the middle. And that's rigged. It's not as good as I'd like because I couldn't get what I wanted for this skirt here. But I'll give it a go and see how it works. The rest of it's good. And I can replace that skirt material with something else if I can find something better. And those hooks are super sharp. So they'll do the trick nicely. They're lined up well. The beads provide a good spacer, get them away from the skirt. I think that'll work pretty well. Well, if it's going to work at all, I think it'll work pretty well. So there you are, all ready to go. As you've just seen, this part of the video was done before Christmas. I didn't get a chance to get out and use it. And since then, I've got parts from America. So I'm going to take the old skirt off and put these parts on from America, which I think are much better for the job. As I've said in the last few videos, I've been working on a job I have to get done. And I really thought that I was going to have time to do the job and then have a couple of weeks spare where I could just spend fishing. That is not the case. I realise now that I'm going to go right down to the wire on the job, and I am not going to have any time at all for anything else. So I've got some videos of other stuff that I've been working on. For the next few weeks I'm just going to put them together and put them up on YouTube so that I've got some presence there, but it won't be for a while before we get out and do any actual fishing. And I'll tell you what, I'm having withdrawal symptoms. But I do have to get this job done, so that is what it is. You can get these big squid skirts on mail order from the US. They may be around here in Australia. I haven't seen them anywhere if they are. But anyway, once you got them, what you want to do is cut the top off. Hopefully that's going to be about right for the diameter of the lure head that I've got. And then turn it inside out, like that. Now, got to think about this. We want it to go on that way. What would be the best way to go about that? I should have done this before I had the hooks on, of course, but it's okay. Looks like it's going to work all right anyway. Got to work it over these hooks because I put the hooks on before I got these, thinking that I wasn't going to use these skirts. I had a different idea in mind, which didn't pan out. So now I'm going with these. Now make sure we get all our tentacles out of there. Now they're hooked up. Do the same here, no tentacles wrapped up as we go in. Pulling this up. Could have used a bit of lubrication on this. Yeah, okay, that's got in pretty good. I'm okay with that. Now we want some waxed nylon rigging floss to do this job. Yes, and that's going to be painful. I'll have to do it this way, because it should have been rigged, as I said before. I put the hooks on, but I didn't do that. We just have to do the best we can. So give it 3 wraps around there. I should have mentioned I put this in the first of the 2 recesses. I'm going to lay this on that first recess there. Give yourself plenty of tag end. And I hope you can see how I'm doing that. Come around it and then bring your tag end out on the end. And then take your line 3 or 4 times around there. And then put an overhand knot in it and cinch that down as tight as you can. Then go around another 3 times or 4. Keeping that line as tight as you can all the time. Another overhand knot. And then cinch that down. Alright, just cut that now. Almost got that nicely done up and cinched down really tight. Tie this off a little bit more on this side. Use up some of this tag end on it. And no need to trim the tag end off because you got all this stuff flopping around anyway. So a little bit of tag end doesn't matter. And if you got too much of the rubber sticking out, you can get a Stanley knife or a razor blade and trim it off, but I think that's okay. So now that we've got that done, we turn it around right side out again. And there we have it rigged on the hooks. Those hooks are just long enough. Maybe trim a ½ inch or centimetre or so off these tentacles, because that hook is just sort of sitting right at the base of them. I just like the hook, the sharp end of the hook exposed behind the tentacles. This other one's okay up in there. So that's rigging the squid skirt on there. We've got some other bling that we can put on here just to enhance the look of it a bit. Again, you can get these online from the US. And I'm going to put these up in this second recess here. Okay, wax rigging floss under it. That on top of it. Spread it out a bit. Make it as even as I can. And then start with an overhand knot. Okay, don't forget it perfectly even the first time round. If you can, good, well and good, but if you can't, don't worry too much about it. Fix it up in the finish. Yeah, it's really awkward to do with the hooks on there. I'm going to get off camera a little bit because I'm going to wrap that round 3 times to start with. Overhand knot in there, and now go another 3 times. And then shove another overhand knot in. And let's go another 3 times just for luck. 3. Just need an assistant here to help me tie this last knot here. Just put your finger down on that knot. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, that'll do with that. Again, no real need to cut the tag ends off. I'll cut them fairly long because, I can take this off now. And that sits like that. Now how could a fish resist that? Looks beautiful. Lots of nice colours in there. And now all I've got to do is figure out where I want to trim that. Just watch out for that middle hook there. And I think if we take about that much off and then straighten him up a little bit, as for those extra long ends, that will be pretty perfect. That will. Nicely exposed on that bottom end of the hook. I don't know that I'm going to be anything around by the time I get out on the water to actually use this particular lure on, but if you keep following my channel, I will be using it as soon as there is something, Spanish mackerel, Wahoo or around. Just depends when I get out on the water. And to store it, I'm going to keep it in a Ziploc bag. Getting it in there is a bit of an issue. How are we going to do that? I think probably putting it in this way would be the best way to go. And that concludes this video. Okay, as I say, really flat out getting this job done. Not going as well as I'd hoped. So I'll have these sort of videos for probably next few weeks until the deadline, because I think I'm going to go right up to the wire to get this programming job done. Then I'll get out on the water finally, hopefully. I don't quite know when that will be, but if you subscribe and follow the channel, you'll find out how well it works, or doesn't, as the case may be. Until then, good fishing.